Daughters, the women are speaking. They arrive over the wise distances on perfect feet. Daughters, I love you.
Here we are looking back some 30 years since we began as the movers and the shakers of the rape crisis movement. It is so incredible to see that what we fought so hard to get heard as a legitimate subject for discussion in polite company is now mainstream. I remember when we would get invited to speak about our center's needs. People would shudder when they realized what our center was really about. No one was comfortable with our issue. It was not a nice issue that people would line up to help with. They could not make gift packages for the victims, blankets for babies. For those of you new to this work, your mind will be opened to things you never imagined you would be challenged to explore. You will be a changed person for having opened your mind to the issue of sexual assault. So, as you start this journey, I wish you wisdom, compassion, and spirit.
Dear Mama, I know you had a problem with the change in me when I began to teach self-defense in the 1970s. It started with that sermon I preached when I came down south for Christmas. I took the man out of the spotlight and I put Mary and Martha as their own life authorities. Now women would direct their lives and the men could join them as equals, not as dominators. I left that church with a vow. When the preacher asked if I was going to theology school, I said, no, I'm going out to fight rape. And that I have done over the past 30 years. The women call me the grandmother of self-defense, which means I've seen many changes. We need to remember it took great courage for feminists to break the silence and tell the truth about rape in America and now globally. When I was 35, an older woman saw my Women Against Sexual Abuse red t-shirt with the words, "No more rape." She put her hand to her mouth and she said, "Oh, don't remind them." But Mama, you and I know that we must remind them if the future is to be what it ought to be. No more rape. Your daughter at 67, Betty.
In 1974, I was raped. I did not fit the stereotypical image of a victim. I was in my own home, my sanctuary, in the Silicon Valley suburbs, my own bed, my spouse next to me, my two small daughters asleep down the hall. I was in my kitchen when the police arrived, my nightgown slit open with the rapist's knife. Although there were a dozen police officers in my home, no one spoke to me. Remember, there were no special units, no special investigation procedures, no protocols, no guidelines, no trainings. I felt isolated, violated, vulnerable, intensely afraid, and slowly became numb and yet angry. So I started as a volunteer, working on the hotline, knocking on doors, literally cornering police chiefs, medical administrators, school officials, community groups, begging for just 1 hour to talk about rape. I was determined that what had happened to me, such senseless violence, would make a difference in the lives of others. I did not want anyone to go through what I went through. I was a victim. I became a survivor.
Native people have had war and rape since first contact, and continued with extermination wars, mandatory boarding schools, gold rush, and legal indentured slavery. This fact alone describes Native people as survivors. For a long time, the movement did not reach Native women who lived on reservations and other rural areas. For a long time, the movement did not understand Native women's roles in their culture. I want to tell the story of one of the many Native women in our community who has started their healing. This woman came into our women's group with her head down, wearing black, and virtually not wanting to live or even liking life. By learning how history has affected her people, she learned that her family were all survivors. She felt comfortable to talk in a safe place, express her feelings about traditions, and not be shameful of who she was. Native people heal with other Native people, where they can express and feel safe about their cultural views, pains, and traumas. Native people understand that they have all walked this earth together with the same or similar footprints.
My career and life work had its origin in the civil rights and anti-war movements. I remember when several women were raped and murdered on Mount Tamalpais. A group of us who had participated in Take Back the Night marches decided to take back the mountain. Instead of staying away from this beautiful place, scores of women hiked, sang, chanted, and reclaimed Mount Tamalpais as a sacred and safe place for women. A personal epiphany came during an early 80s workshop on isms for rape prevention education program coordinators. I started seeing more clearly how racism and homophobia separate us from each other. This became a theme for my life, and I'm unable to separate it now from the work I do to help end sexual and domestic violence. In 1988, I moved from being an urban feminist to being a rural feminist, and I've been humbled greatly by that experience. Among other things, being in the country means that when there's a conflict, we're stuck with our solidarity because there's no other group to join. We're it.
I came to the Rosa Parks Center in search of a place where I would be supported in my feminist ideals. Prior to the launching of the Rosa Parks Sexual Assault Crisis Center in 1984, I only found rape addressed in the African American community through the imaginations of novelists such as Alice Walker, Toni Morrison, or Maya Angelou. Even though South Los Angeles reported the highest incidence of sexual assault, there were not any services targeting this population of mostly African American women. While certainly there were black women involved in the rape crisis movement, there was not an organized effort in our community. It was significant that the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, a pivotal civil rights organization, would lead this charge. Violence against women was in concert with their agenda to work on issues of nonviolence and social justice. For me, one of my proudest moments occurred on a sunny day in 1988, when we, the women of Rosa Parks, marched through the streets declaring, "We've been silent long enough."